Vine opens her eyes in a different place and tied up with chains again. She is so used to it that she didn't even react when she saw herself being in such a miserable situation. She rests her head down and looks on the ground in despair. Suddenly she hears the door opening from behind, allowing the light to come in to make her look at her surroundings. The most different thing about this time was that a man in front of her was also chained in the same pattern as her. When the sunlight fell on the chained man's face, he opened his eyes slowly to look around. He scoffs when he looks at the men who were approaching him. Charles, long time no see, John. It's a shame that we are meeting under such circumstances. I was thinking of a bigger fish, but it's just you. It's really a shame. Jungkook said while being chained. Charles moved forward while smiling when he ordered Vine to dance, trying to remove her clothes, for she started screaming, which made Jungkook look at her and know that someone else is chained there, together with him. He looked at her and wanted to keep looking, but he couldn't, as she was only screaming. Vine, don't do it. Please, please don't. Charles, why are you scared, baby? You're fine with me. Let me have some fun. Charles smirked, and as he was about to tear up her clothes, Jungkook spoke up. Hey, hey, Charles. Don't you know I'm here too? Deal with me first, and leave her. Charles, that's what I'm going to do. Deal with you while she's dancing. It will be so much fun. Jungkook, I don't think it will be fun when you die. Come here when I'm asking you nicely. Jungkook looked at Charles with his deadly stare, for Charles was amazed that he has the dare to do that when he's chained. Charles goes to Jungkook and looks in his eyes to tell him, Sorry, were you talking to me? Jungkook smirked and quickly kicked Charles with his legs that were chained. His hands were chained to two side pillars. Charles' men were shocked and wanted to kill him, but as they were coming to him, he the chain suddenly fell down on the floor, and he smirked looking at Charles, who said, You could do it all along? Jungkook, I could, but I just wanted to test your patience. I don't think it will be worth wasting my time anymore. Then, let's meet in hell, Charles. Jungkook, who didn't have a weapon in his hand, started beating Charles' guys by literally throwing them on the ground with just one punch of his. Vine looked at him, and without realizing that she smiled, she thought, This guy is so cool. Jungkook, after beating them all, came to Charles and said to him, I'm done with the warm up. It's finally workout time. Vine's eyes shined as she said, No, he's coolest. Charles got up and pointed his gun towards Jungkook, putting it literally on his forehead. Charles, your pride will take your own life now. Goodbye. Jungkook smirked again and snatched the gun from Charles' hands. After twisting his arm to throw him on the ground, Jungkook sat in his stomach when he said to him, You should keep your enemies closer than your friends, but not too close that they take your own life. But I want you to pay the price for wasting my time. What should I do with you? Jungkook said to him as Charles once worked for Jungkook, but then betrayed him. So he can't let Charles die that easily. Jungkook looked at the dagger that was in Charles' waist belt and said, "That's perfect." He took it out and started peeling the whole skin of Charles until he heard Vine screaming from looking at all this. His eyes went towards her when she screamed, and thinking that she is scared of this, he looked at Charles and said, "You got lucky today." Jungkook got up from him and said, "So now you have to wait until all the insects come and start eating your flesh. And also," he went towards Vine and said, "I'm taking her with me as a bonus after locking the door. Enjoy your life," he said while freeing Vine from the chains, and she fell all of a sudden on Jungkook. She was too weak as she didn't eat for 2 days. He was going to hold her, but she gathered her courage and got up herself. "Vine, I'm sorry. I really am. It won't happen again." "Jungkook, why are you acting up when you did nothing but fall?" Vine looked at him, surprised. "Jungkook, anyways, let's go from here first." Jungkook held her hand as he was afraid she might fall again. He locked the door from outside and sat in Charles' car. He made Vine sit in the back while he drove the car. All the way, she didn't dare to look up, so Jungkook didn't say anything too. After reaching home, Jungkook holds her hand again, but she gets scared of him, looking at all the blood. He points towards the dining table and says, "You can sit there. I'll order some food for you. Can you walk by yourself?" Vine said hesitatingly, "Of course I can. I will go right now." She starts walking while limping all the way towards the dining table and sits there while Jungkook ordered his maid to make a dish for her that takes the least amount of time, while Jungkook himself goes to the washroom to wash himself out of all the blood and change his clothes. When he comes out, he goes towards the dining table, only to see her staring on the food without eating anything at all. Jungkook goes to her, and while sitting on the chair, he says to her, "You haven't started eating yet?" "Wine. How could I, without you? I'll eat the leftovers after you're finished." Jungkook looks at her, feeling nothing but pain and guilt for her in his heart. He thought to himself while looking at her, "Why? Why does my heart feel like it's piercing down? It shouldn't be like that for a mere girl." "Jungkook, you can eat the whole of it, and I'll order some more for you. You can eat how much you want to." Wine didn't believe what she was hearing, but as she was really hungry, she didn't have any second thoughts before asking him, "Can I really eat this?" Jungkook smiled, trying to make her comfortable, and while patting her hairs, he said to her, "Start eating already." She was too happy to begin with, but she didn't show it that much. She just started eating. She took a bite, and finding it really delicious, she jumped on the whole food and ate it really fast. He smiled looking at her while he was about to drink water, but the glass from his hand fell down by mistake. Vine stood up in an instant and said, "I'm sorry. I'll clean this up in a minute." Jungkook was actually worried now, for he held her shoulders with warmth, but she only got more scared as she said, "Please don't beat me. I'm sorry." Jungkook, wait, look at me. She slowly moved her head up to look at him. You don't have to do these things when you're with me. I won't beat you at all, so don't be scared when you're with me. She looked in his eyes and saw nothing but affection and guilt for herself. She suddenly felt a sense of protection from him when she looked at him. He made her get up and sit in her chair again, which she did peacefully. Jungkook, now continue with your eating. He sees her smile again, for he was relieved after seeing that. He made a vow right at that moment to keep treating her like this and protect that smile of hers, which is so precious, but she wasted it on useless people. After having enough of food, she finally sits peacefully and hesitatingly asks him, thanks for saving me earlier. If you weren't there, he would have tore apart my clothes already." Jungkook smiles, looking at her. "What is your name? And can I ask you about your backstory? If it doesn't hurt you." "I'm Wine. I grew up in an orphanage, which was corrupt. It sold kids when they reached their teenage. I was sold to a ruthless billionaire at first, but when he got bored of me, he sold me to Charles. And now you took me, your home, as a slave." Jungkook, "Who says I took you home as a slave?" Wine, "What do you mean? If it's not like that, then I took you home because I couldn't see you like that. I wanted to protect you at that moment." Wine, "Protect me? Someone like me?" Jungkook, "What's wrong with someone like you? Aren't you human, just like everyone else?" Wine, "Human? Me? Did someone call me human?" She looked at her bare hands and started crying. Her cry was literally heartbreaking for Jungkook and for herself too, as it was the first time someone called her human. Someone treated her like a human. Jungkook wanted nothing else from her, nor did he feel like he loved her or something. But when he saw her crying so badly, he hugged her in an instant, trying to comfort her. Jungkook, "Right, you're a human too, a very precious human. I promise that I'll protect you forever and treat you not just like a normal human, but like a princess. I won't let anyone hurt you anymore." All she wanted at that moment was a little comfort, so she hugged him back and cried while bursting out in tears. Jungkook stayed with her patiently, without getting tired, without complaining, until she cried all she wanted. She broke the hug after calming down and looks at him. "Sorry, I must have wasted a lot of your time. I know you don't like it." Jungkook, "How do you know that?" Fine. "Didn't you say that to Charles? That you don't like wasting your time at all?" Jungkook laughed at her and said, "That was for him, not for you. You can take as much time of mine as you want." Fine. "Why? Why are you doing all this for me?" Jungkook, "That I don't know myself. I just felt like protecting you at that moment. So I did. That's it." Wine, "You're kind." Jungkook, "You think so? even after what I did to Charles and his guys, Jungkook said while laughing when she called him kind. Fine. That was really cool. I loved it. I always wanted to be like that. Be able to beat anyone who looks down on me. You were really impressive, she says, looking in his eyes, for his poor heart couldn't take it anymore. Jungkook, do you want me to be the one who does that for you? I'll beat everyone who looks down upon you. What do you say? Why? You. Will you do that for me? Jungkook nodded and pointed his pinky finger at her. I promise I'll do that forever. She looked at his finger and asked, what is that? Do you want something? Jungkook laughed and held her hand to join her finger with his to make a promise while saying, that's how you make a promise. Vine smiled again. This was the best time of her whole life that she remembered. She will probably cherish this moment forever. She looked at him and didn't want to lose him, but she knew that everyone leaves her, so she can't get her hopes up. Next day, Vine wakes up after having the most peaceful sleep. She stretches her arms and looks around only to see a pair of clothes for her to change. She smiled looking at them, knowing who must have done it. After taking a shower, she realizes that she forgot to take her clothes, so she wraps a towel around her body and comes out to take them. She starts searching for them, but doesn't notice that Jungkook was behind her. Jungkook and Vine slept in different rooms last night, but right after waking up, Jungkook comes in her room to check up on her, but sees her like this from behind. She was going to the bed, but Jungkook came from behind, and turning her around, he makes her lie down on the bed and comes upon her. Vine gets stunned when she sees him. What what are you doing here so early in the morning? Jungkook, it's not early morning at all. You slept a lot today. But now, looking at your wet legs, can I touch them? Vine blushes to her core, although she should not, as it gave Jungkook the permission. Jungkook notices her face, and instead of going towards her legs, he started kissing her on the lips. She was really startled by him. She started having those thoughts again, that what if he starts beating her once she kisses him back? But she gradually looks at him and couldn't control herself. She already felt protected, so kissed him back. Jungkook started going towards her neck, which made her sure he won't beat her. So she ran her hands across his waist and went deeper with the kiss. After breaking the kiss, Jungkook makes her sit down on the bed, but she was stealing side from him. Jungkook looked at her blushing face and whispered in her ears, I love you. For she felt goosebumps in her whole body after hearing that. She couldn't react to it nor say anything because she couldn't believe this was happening to her. Jungkook, aren't you going to answer me? Why? What makes you think you love me? Jungkook, I want to protect you, make you feel safe and comfortable. I want to see you happy. I couldn't sleep the whole night as I was thinking about you, and I don't want to lose you at any cost. Those feelings made me think it must be love. Why? You don't want to lose me? Then I love you too. I love you so much. More than an eternity. Because I don't want to lose you at all, she says and hugs him, putting her head on his chest. Jungkook smiles and hugs her back, saying, I love you too.